Hello and welcome to my channel where we are making a gourmet tasting cake using a box mix. And today I have a little helper, my daughter Alice, and we are going to make a delicious white chocolate confetti cake, Halloween themed. So stick around while we make something boxed,
but better.
In a large microwave-safe bowl, we are going to add 1/2 cup of white chocolate chips and 1/4 cup of oil. We are going to microwave this in 20-second intervals, stirring every 20 seconds until it is completely melted. We're going to add 1 white cake mix and another 1/4 cup of oil on top of it. The next thing we will need is 1½ cups of whole milk. Once you add this, we are going to stir it lightly with our spatula. Be sure to scrape the bottom to help make sure the white chocolate incorporates. Once it is mostly incorporated, we are going to then add 3 large eggs. Now we are going to mix this together on medium speed until everything is well incorporated, which will take a total of about 2 minutes. And now for the splash of color, we are adding a 1/3 cup of sprinkles of your choice. We are going to fold this in gently. We don't want to stir it too hard or else the colors from the sprinkle will run into the batter. Once it is mixed, we are going to pour it into 2 8-inch round pans that have been greased and floured. You'll notice that our sprinkles are running a bit. Unfortunately, our battery died, and so by the time it charged 10 minutes later, the sprinkles had too much time to soak into the batter and the colors ran. But it's okay, it still turned out very beautiful. Now we are going to bake our cakes at 335 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes. I accidentally set my timer for hours instead of minutes, which is a little embarrassing, but luckily I could smell that it was done, so it did not burn. To check to see if your cake is done, you can do 2 things. The first is the poke test. Poke your cake lightly, and if it springs back to your touch, you know it's done. The other one is the toothpick test. Insert a toothpick, and if it comes out clean, you know your cake is done. Now we are going to let our layers cool while we make our white chocolate buttercream icing. For our white chocolate icing, we are going to put a 1/2 cup of white chocolate chips and a 1/2 stick of unsalted butter in a microwave-safe bowl. And we are going to melt this in 20-second intervals, stirring every 20 seconds until it is completely melted. Once it's melted, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, another 1/2 stick of unsalted butter at room temperature, and we are going to add a 1/2 pound of sifted powdered sugar. Pour in 1/8 cup of whole milk. Now we are going to mix this together on medium speed, and don't forget to scrape down the edges of your bowl to make sure that all the powdered sugar makes it into your icing. Once that is mostly incorporated, we are going to add another 1/2 pound of sifted powdered sugar and mix that on medium speed again until mostly incorporated. You'll notice that your icing is getting a lot thicker now. Then we are going to add a final 1/2 pound of powdered sugar and another 1/8 cup of whole milk. Now it is important to note when you are working with icing that you have melted chocolate chips or white chocolate chips into, that as it cools it will become thicker and stiffer. So you might need to stop and add an extra tablespoon of milk, or maybe even a couple teaspoons. It really just depends on how hot or cold or humid it is outside. For example, it was cold outside when I made this icing, so I had to add another tablespoon of milk to thin it out. And then as I was working with it during the icing process of the cake, I actually ended up adding another 2 tablespoons to make it a little thinner. Once your cake layers have cooled, use a butter knife to go around the edges and gently push the edges away from your cake pan until you go all the way around and your cake layer has loosened up. I also give my cake pan a little jiggle to loosen the cake up on the bottom before I flip it out of the pan. Now, not all cakes will bake completely level, so I am using a bread knife to cut off the top hump on this cake so that it will be more flat when I turn it over onto the cake stand. If you decide to leave your cake a mountain shape, then when you turn it over upside down onto your stand, it has a very good chance of cracking straight down the middle. And look how pretty our Halloween confetti sprinkles are looking! I love it! For the middle, I am just doing a large dollop of buttercream icing, and then using a butter knife or a spatula, whatever you have on hand, we are going to hold it at a 45-degree angle and push the icing around on the cake layer. If you hold it flat against your cake instead of at an angle, it has a tendency to pull the cake crumbs underneath and then make a very crumbly mess in your icing. So remember to push it instead of pull it. Once you have iced the middle of the cake, we are going to add our second layer. I did have to cut the hump off of the top of this layer as well. Now this next step is optional, but I like to take a bread knife and just shave off the edges of the cake straight down so that the side of the cake is more smooth and flat and uniform. This will make for an easier icing process. If you ice it the way it is now without cutting off your edges, then it has a tendency to look lumpy and bumpy when you ice it. And you don't have to throw away these cake pieces either. They make great snacks or cake pops. The next thing I'm going to do is crumb coat the cake. A crumb coat is when you take some icing and put it in a separate bowl and dilute it with a little bit of milk until it is thin. Then you take this icing and spread a very thin layer across your cake to catch the crumbs. This will make the icing and decorating stage a lot easier later. Once you've completely covered your cake in a crumb coat, we are going to refrigerate it for about 10 minutes. After a 10-minute chill, you'll see that the icing does not come off when you lightly touch it with your finger. Now we are going to add a large dollop of our white chocolate buttercream and spread it using that 45-degree angle pushing motion all the way around the top of the cake. Once we have covered the top of the cake, we are going to take our spatula or butter knife and do the sides. And in case you are wondering, yes, I do actually have a decorator spatula, but I am using a butter knife because the whole point of my channel is to show that you can make a delicious cake without having to buy a bunch of fancy tools. Once you have iced your cake, you can either serve it or we can decorate it. I'm going to show you a very quick and simple design using some leftover sprinkles. This technique is best done as soon as you finish icing your cake so that the sprinkles will stick best. Scoop up a handful of sprinkles and gently push them into the bottom border of your cake to create a fun and easy sprinkle border. Once you are finished, I like to go around a second time just to firm up the sprinkles into the icing, and then I clean off all the excess sprinkles that did not stick to the icing. For the top of my cake, I am using a piping bag with a large star tip. If you are new to using a piping bag, be sure to twist the top so the icing doesn't come out on accident when you squeeze it. Hold it in between your thumb and the crook of your finger, and then use the 4 fingers to squeeze your icing, while guiding with your other hand. Start by hovering your tip straight over the top, and then squeeze gently, going in a swirling motion, and stop your pressure as you pull away. Add some sprinkles to each swirl, and we have a fast and festive design that is also really cute and very fun. What I love so much about making your own confetti cake is you can use whatever color sprinkles you want. Something for a birthday, a holiday, or a sports game. I actually did another white chocolate confetti cake, but this one was fall themed. I absolutely adored those fall colors.
And there we have it, our delicious white chocolate confetti cake. Thank you for joining us. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you did too. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section below, and we will do our best to answer them. And we will see you next time on Boxed But Better with Jenna.
And Alice.
There we go. Followed by, oh, okay. Is it not coming out?
Nope. Okay, next thing.
And we will see you next time on Boxed But Better with Jenna. You didn't say an Alice.
And Alice.